Howdy YouTube. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos, but I've been looking forward to doing this, and part of the reason it's been so long is because I've wanted to really get a hold of this thing and kind of get to know it a little bit. I bought this, and obviously this is a TGR 36 C RAS. There are various types of TGRs. They're all mag-fed, they're all gas through stock. There's the TGR 2s, I believe we're on now. This is 2015. And the TGR 2s are kind of like the Milsig M17 style paintball gun, you know, where they've got the back latch that you pull back to cock the gun. And this is a G36 style gun. This is a semi-automatic paintball gun, unfortunately. But it looks pretty sweet, you know. You don't see many of these. There is this is the RAS version, which means it has a slightly longer rail here. The non-RAS version is a plastic shroud, and also a little bit shorter. And there is another version above this that I think has a super long shroud and comes with a super long barrel. But, you know, I had my own barrel. These are A5 threads, so I've got a lap coat big shot with one of these, I think they're stiletto tips, that make a nice little, like, ringing sound every time you pull the trigger. So a little bit of history about TGR as a company. To be perfectly honest, I don't know a whole lot about them. They're kind of an enigma on the paintball field. You don't see a lot of TGRs. You see a lot of RAP 4s, you see a lot of Milsigs, but you don't see a lot of TGRs. From what I remember, I first heard of the TGR brand in maybe like 2012, maybe three and a half years ago. It's 2015 now, so yeah, maybe like halfway through 2011, maybe 2012. And TGR is, I think, based out of California, and they do all their manufacturing down there. Well, they used to, and they originally just supplied to the US, and they supplied directly from TGR. And when they started picking up Canadian retailers, TGR supplied the guns directly to the Canadian retailers, and it wasn't very long before TGR said to themselves, we don't want to deal with this shit. So they got a company called Honor Corps. And you can see this paintball gun has the Honor Corps logo, because this was distributed not by Honor Corps, but by MaxTact. And the guy at MaxTact told me that they were receiving complaints about the service provided by Honor Corps. I don't particularly believe that. Honor Corps is now a supplier for Milsig and RAP 4 paintball guns. Originally they weren't, but they are now, and I think Honor Corps was promoting Milsig and RAP 4 paintball guns over the TGRs, and obviously I think that pissed off TGR as a company, so TGR went to MaxTact, and now MaxTact is supplying the TGRs. But this one has both the MaxTact and the Honor Corps, so what happened? Well, it was a very sudden change. Honor Corps, I think, supplied all the TGRs, at least in Canada, for 2.5 years or so, maybe longer, maybe 3 years, and when MaxTact ended up picking them up, it was a very sudden change. It wasn't like a slow handoff, it was like, fuck you, Honor Corps, hi MaxTact. And so they had all of these paintball guns that had Honor Corps kind of part of the ano, or powder coat or whatever on the metal. So MaxTac just put their logo on the plastic receiver part, basically. And now all the guns you get are the Gen 3s. This is a Gen 2. And the Gen 3s allegedly have a different, like, power core or whatever the fuck they call it, valve. They've got a different valve. I don't think the valve is any different. I think it's exactly the same valve. These are basically just spiders. They've got a valve about here. The hammer sits here. There's a spring back here, and the hammer is attached to a bolt, and that's what moves through here. So this little window you can see here. You still can't really see it. So this little window you see here, it doesn't actually show you if the paintball's in the breech. You almost have to kind of look up into it to see if it's in the breech, but it does give you a very good view as to what's going on. So, anyways, I don't think they changed anything about the way these work. I think they just put their own logo on them and said that now they're better, which, yeah, I think is a load of shit. But that said, these aren't bad guns. They work like spiders, so you know how they work. They're very simple. If something goes wrong, it's very simple to maintain. The way TGRs are made is almost like a wrap. The inside is a clamshell. So this is 2 layers, right? So this outer layer is basically a wrap that goes over the paintball gun, and inside that wrap is a clamshell design, and that clamshell is basically a basic level TGR2. So even though this doesn't say TGR2 on it, it is a TGR2. It's just wrapped in the TGR36 body. So when you're taking it apart, it can look almost like an onion. It's got these layers to it, which is kind of interesting. So these guns are gas through stock only. You can also run a remote line from here, but you cannot put a bottom line on here because the 45 grip has a little compartment built into it, so you can store your Allen keys, your batteries, money, whatever. It's kind of a neat feature. I don't trust it, but I've never had it open on me, so I'm sure it works. It's got a nice weight to it. It's very efficient. I think I get something like 85 paintballs, 85 to 100 paintballs out of this. Very efficient. And that's off of a 13 CI. It uses a wire detent system, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you can see those. Yeah, you can see those in there. They're dual wire detents on either side of the breech there. And that's the bolt I'm controlling. And what those do is they actually hug a paintball or a first strike round into the breech, so that if you have a paintball in your breech when you take your mag out, you don't lose as much paint. And you will need to do that because these mags are shit. The Wrap 4 mags were cheap. They were cheap as fuck, but they worked. And I'd probably rather have this than a whatever those dual stack Wrap 4s are called, the D-mags. Probably rather have this, but the D-mag worked better. The Milsig mag worked very well, very easy to clean, very easy to take apart, never jammed. This, very easy to clean, very easy to take apart, jams all the fucking time. And the reason for that is this little latch system they have here that kind of controls the paintballs, keeps the paintballs in there. When this gets pushed down enough, it actually pushes the little spring release up, and the wheel can lock and basically stop it from feeding paint. It doesn't happen a lot, but it happens enough that it's annoying, and I don't trust this gun. So it's a good thing it has that window, because I use that window a lot. In some cases I check after every shot. Other cases I just have faith that it works. Most of the time it will jam in a way where it feeds that last paintball and then it just doesn't feed the next one. And you're like, why is nothing coming out? And you realize that it's not feeding properly. Sometimes it will feed half of a paintball into the breech. And when it does that, it's terrible because the bolt crushes the paintball, coats the inside of your breech with paint, and sends paint shooting about 4 paintballs down into here and ruins the mag, and you have to clean it out before you can use it again. And that is a huge pain in the ass. There is a fix you can do where basically you take the mag apart, you take this little guy off, and you shave some of the plastic off, and that fixes the problem. But it's just a pain in the ass. It should just fucking work. Just mold it differently, guys. Fuck. Anyways, the way this thing is made is very nice. Very easy to take apart, very intuitive. The front shroud is connected by 1 push pin. The back is connected by 2 push pins. When you slide this off, or you slide anything over a Picatinny rail, you will notice that it takes the powder coat with it. It's a very cheap powder coat, which I don't particularly mind. I think it looks kind of cool when it starts to get a little silvery. You can see a little bit of it there if the camera's good enough. The other thing about this is that the velocity adjustment, well, it doesn't exist. There is no velocity adjustment. You have to put new springs depending on how fast you want to shoot your paintball. So I think it comes with a 230-ish, 250-ish, 280-ish, and then 2 full-length springs that you can cut to size. So it comes with 5 springs. And it works well, but you know there's a break-in period to paintball guns, and most people try and get through that break-in period as quickly as possible because it's annoying. It makes your gun a little unpredictable because the springs haven't balanced out. And so what ends up happening is this gun has a long break-in period, and basically every time you need to change the velocity, you need to break the gun in again. And it's because it's not just breaking these springs in to be consistent. It's breaking in the valve spring to depress the same amount with the mainspring. And each time you change that tension on the mainspring, you're depressing the valve more or less. I mean, that's the idea, but if you have a strong spring in there for a long time, when you switch to the lighter spring, that main valve is going to be used to depressing more. So the spring in the valve is going to be a lighter spring than if you would have just been using a light mainspring. I know, I'm kind of confusing myself with this, but it's true. The first, every time I go out, it's like the first 2 mags of paint are just kind of balancing out the springs. And it's a pain in the ass, but it's also kind of nice because you don't have to worry about fine-tuning the adjustments. You just put the spring in, and it is what it is, and you just kind of learn how it shoots, and you learn how to accommodate it. And because of that, it can actually be very accurate, because once it is broken in, there's only one way it shoots. And if you keep barrel clean, which is why I have a Labco Big Shot, not because it's clean, but because it's a nice barrel, it's super accurate. It shoots first strikes like a dream, shoots paintballs very nicely. There's really not a lot to complain about other than the mags, which are shit, and the fact that you have to break it in. You know, you have to spend, what, like $1 in paint just kind of making sure that it's firing the right way. aside from that, it's very nice. It looks nice. It's got a really nice weight to it, like a real feel, I would call it. Don't even need these Picatinny covers. I just thought they looked nice, and I got them as a gift. But you know, there's no sharp corners on here. Everything is ambidextrous. Everything. Ambidextrous safety, ambidextrous mag release. Even the cocking rod. You can switch this pin around to the other side, so it's ambidextrous. These things to put your stupid little harnesses on, they're on both sides. The entire thing is ambidextrous. It's very nice. Pros and cons. The Wrap 4. If you get a Wrap 4 that works, it works very nicely. The only thing I didn't like about my Wrap 4 was the company that I bought it from. I thought Wrap 4 as a company was just fucking me in the ass every chance they got. You know, they kind of sell the guns to you on the promises of what they'll be able to do, and the fact of the matter, you know, they kind of say like, oh, our guns are going to be able to do this, which no other gun can do, or which other guns can do, but it's going to be way more expensive. And the fact of the matter is, by the time Wrap 4 figures out how to do it, because it's always years behind schedule, they've A, realized they had to completely redesign the gun, so now your gun is obsolete, or you need to buy a bunch of parts for it. B, if you do need to buy a bunch of parts for it, they don't kind of manufacture things consistently. They have a bunch of different versions of everything, so they'll say like, this part works on all this type of gun, but the reality is it doesn't. It works on specific versions of that gun. So you'll buy something and then realize that you need to basically own a Dremel tool in order to get it to fit. The other thing about them is they're just a piece of shit company. They just, you know, other companies are working on the same things Wrap 4 is working on, except they don't hype things up. They don't make you believe they're going to give you something that they just can't give you, or that you're going to have to spend a whole bunch of money changing what you have in order to get. That's why I didn't like the Wrap 4. The Milsig. I didn't like my Milsig because, first of all, Milsig had my gun for 8 months. 8 fucking months. That's bullshit. All they needed to do was replace the body, because it had one of those original bodies and the body's cracked. It wasn't even an operational issue. The gun still worked fine. It was just a cosmetic issue, but I didn't care. It was under warranty. I don't want a cracked fucking gun. After that, the little cocking rod mechanism on the back broke, and they told me that that was user error because I was playing with it too much. But if you go on their website, they say that they have the little latch piece there, and it says now made out of stronger aluminum. Why would you need to make it out of stronger aluminum if it's user error when it breaks? The guy couldn't answer the question, so I ordered the part. It was $4, and I immediately turned around and sold it because I was sick of having to deal with those pins that hold the Milsig together. That said, the Milsig was more reliable on the field than this. So was the Wrap 4. So why do I have this, you might say? Well, I like the way this gun is designed. It's very simple, very easy to maintain. If you need to tinker with it, it's right there. You can just do it. You know, you don't need to like take apart this complex series of things. It's just a spider wrapped in another body. That's all it is. You can just take it apart, change whatever you want to change, put it back together. It works just fine. The other thing about these is that TGR doesn't put out a bunch of shit to put on these that then doesn't fit. In fact, they don't really put out anything. You can just buy stuff, third party, and it fits. Well, that was kind of a bit of a rant, wasn't it? Anyways, so this is the TGR 36C. I think I've said basically about all I can say on the matter. If If you guys have any questions, any comments, please let me know. It's a pretty gun. It's a pretty gun. Derp.